Karina.
Good morning, Philip, or good afternoon, Philip.
Good afternoon, Sarah. Hi. So one of the questions that I found from Giliu 513 is there any way to reduce the size of a Kubernetes binary? I found that the kube-apiserver is 108 megabytes. Just wondering if there are any compile options can enable me to reduce the size. So that's an excellent question. Honestly, I'm not a Golang expert, but as far as I know, we don't have any options like this. Otherwise, we would be using them. So I don't think this is the case. I think in general, Go binaries are pretty large. So I guess that's it.
So that's something longer term that it might be worth talking to the Go community or the Go team about, is some sort of further way to reduce binaries. It's certainly something we could reach out to them about.
Right. Though I would be interested in, like, what is the background to this question? Is it that the machine is too small, or like why would you want to invest in this? Like why is it
smaller always better?
Yes, but since this requires some work.
Right. No, I don't think we need to prioritize it by any stretch immediately, but it's an interesting question. Especially as workloads get containerized, people want to put more containers, more smaller objects in. So maybe that's where the
yes, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if we have other questions.
I feel like we should be a talk radio, like, hey, callers, please feel free to dial in live.
Yeah, I don't think there is that many people live now. So there is something very concrete about what is the federation domain map variable in cluster saltbase salt kube-dns kdns rc in. Okay, let's see what this file has. So I will open this on GitHub and we'll see if we can see what this is. And I don't have it. Okay, cluster, saltbase, salt, kube-dns, and kube-dns rc in. Okay, and now what are we looking for? Federation domain map. Right. So the way I understand this is that DNS need to resolve services between in a federated cluster. So where we have number of clusters which are working together under so-called Kubernetes, we need to resolve services between those clusters. And my understanding is that this variable federation domain map will point proper services to the different clusters. Though we would have to walk through where this is exactly said and understand it better, but that would be my guess, judging from the name. Should we go into more detail, Sarah?
We could, or if you could even just leave maybe a breadcrumb, where would you send the person who asked this question next? So, hey, you might look in this section of the code if you want to see more.
It's a very good question. We would have to search for this.
We'd have to go look ourselves.
I don't know. I can try to do this right now.
Let's give it a couple of minutes, see what we find. I've got coffee.
Yeah, that will take a second because I need to SSH to my workstation where I have all the code, but we can certainly do this.
This is fun because I'm going to be able to take this recording and publish it, and then also ping back these people whose questions that we're answering, saying, you didn't come to our office hours, but we thought of you anyway.
Yes. Okay. Domain map.
I'm scrolling back up and trying to check, see if there are other good questions.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Federation, common message. So it looks like I was just grabbing. Maybe I should actually share my screen or something.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
I have never done this in this Zoomas, but let me see. Share screen. Okay. Desktop. Okay. Share screen.
There we go. We see your screen.
Do you see this?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I was just grabbing the code base for this variable. It seems there are basically two files. One is common sh, and the other is this kdnsrc I'm in. And I will ignore the last one because it's something we said, so I don't want to touch this. Okay, common sh today.
We'll only go to sed if we have to.
Yeah, let's see what is inside this file. And we can federation, what was the name again? Federation domain map. Oops. Federation again. Okay. Federation domain. What is this? Federation. Federation.
Federations, yes.
Copy paste works always. We leave the parameter as is. If the right federation environment isn't set, this is to allow users to provide the spiller values using regular salt mechanism during. Okay, so we should now search for basically this variable name. How is it set? Okay, it's still there, I guess. Okay, so this line looks interesting. This is like federation name equal DNS zone name. Yeah, so this basically means what I've just said, that there will be some names assigned to those clusters and we need to resolve them. So we understand that, okay, this prefix or whatever should be resolved actually in this other cluster. But we can go deeper and see what is this DNS zone name.
So it's the key value map, oddly enough, of what the federated cluster name is to what DNS zone it is in?
Yep, that's my understanding. Yes, exactly. And we have some example here in the federation cluster common sh, where we export DNS zone name as federation.example, blah, blah, blah. And
it also has to match the RFC requirements. Awesome.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yes, I don't think it makes sense more to go into details.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's the state of the documentation for cluster federation, as it's a very new feature.
But as it's coming out, the first bits of it are coming out in alpha in 1.3 instantly. We'll be getting some bits of documentation following us. Yeah,
that's exactly the case. So the general answer to our original question was that it's a variable that will help DNS to resolve service names from different clusters under federated cluster.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool.
That was fun. I learn things every day here. It's great.
Okay.
So it looks like somebody was having trouble with the NFS example earlier. Have you played with that example at all?
No, I haven't, but we can see what we can find out. When was it, so that I can see actually the question of the problem?
It was this is going to help because it's time zones, 1:20 p.m. yesterday.
Oh, this is time zone, okay.
Yes.
Or maybe user, maybe I will search for the user.
User is SIJNC. providing I can see this early in the morning. Yes, SIJNC. Just above matchstick. There you go.
I've just seen it, I think.
That one.
This is the one that you were referring to?
Yeah.
You have experience with the official NFS example. 2 days troubleshooting and I'm unable to connect the NFS server based on the example. Okay, this is a very general question.
It is. It may be too general. Do we want to pick a different one? Because it looks like he got some answers.
Yeah, I think it would make sense because it would require having a lot more context to actually understand what was going on.
Okay.
Read what happened, but check kubelet logs, you consider GC environment also.
So there was another question that was pretty straightforward. Is it me or do Kate's unit tests take a long time to run? It's been more than 30 minutes to finish.
Yeah, so unit tests are in not the best shape that they could be. So there are two things which are slow. First of all, just building the binaries takes us a lot of time. And
to the point of the 108 megs.
It's not only because of the size, actually, it's more because in the by default, we are building all the binaries for number of platforms and Windows for PowerPC or whatever else, like number ARM, I think, and then Linux and something else. And this basically linearly increases our build time. So yes, it takes a lot of time, but then I think that the unit test itself should be faster than this. It's more than 20 minutes and tests are still running. Yeah, it took 30 minutes to finish. Yes, we have exactly the same problem in our pre-submit checks that we run on GitHub. We are trying to fix this now, but I'm not sure what's the current state. I know that we started dividing like integration tests from unit tests to speed this up and stuff like this, and this has improved a lot. Time takes a lot of time, so we should definitely look into this more carefully.
So definitely something that's being worked on.
Yes. I think that mostly Daniel is leading all of this work, Daniel Smith, but yeah, we should probably ask him about more details.
So I have another one from the 25th that looks pretty broad. I want to inspect the Kubernetes code since I'm planning to implement a custom volume plugin, which is ambitious. Hence, I would like to know what tools there are that can help me with inspecting the code. So maybe a Go tools overview. This was the morning of the 25th. Well, in my world, it was the only note on the 25th.
Let me find the 25th.
There you go. No, weird. Oh, time zones, right.
Oh, this is it. Okay. This is it.
There we go. Shoot. So I saw you using Vim. Do you use any sort of IDE? Do they exist for?
So I was only using Vim for like in the command line. Usually I use Sublime Text, and it has some nice plugins for Golang. I think that in general there are problems with having cross references in Golang, and I personally didn't find anything that was always working. So I kind of ignored the problem and just learned to live without it. But the basic plugin for Sublime Text worked pretty well for me, and it has some nice syntax highlights. It understands basic Go context and stuff like this, so it works pretty well. And as someone suggested, the first step basically is to be familiar with Go itself. But that's a pretty ambitious project as the first project in Kubernetes.
Yeah, I certainly agree.
I would suggest starting with fixing some simple bugs just to learn the code base. Basically, this will be somewhere around Kubelet. So finding bugs marked as help wanted and and component kubelet probably is a good starting point. I'm not sure how many of them we have, but there are definitely some bugs with help wanted. So I would start with this, and then once the code base is, like developer is more familiar with the code base and with Go itself and how we submit PRs and how the review process goes, then yeah, adding a more volume plugins is something.
Yeah, jumping straight to I'd like to implement a custom volume plugin is pretty big jump.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
Do you have any favorite Golang references for somebody who wants to get started with Go? I know everybody always told me Python or Ruby the hard way were fun references for just onboarding onto Python and Ruby, because apparently there are websites that walk you through introductions. Is there that kind of thing for Go?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I can just share how we learned this in Warsaw, because when we joined the project, we didn't knew Go either. So basically, the first thing was there is a pretty nice tutorial on Golang page, like the official page, with interesting examples, some nice corner cases. Then there is an interesting document written by someone from the team in Mountain View, I think. Was it Daniel Smith again? Maybe someone else, I don't remember. I could try to find it. He has on his GitHub, he has a simple page with interesting quirks of Go and how you can be misled if you know other languages and you don't know Golang very well. There are some examples of what can go wrong and what can go very wrong. So those two combined, I think, is a very good starting point. And basically then I would just suggest, start coding, fixing easiest bugs, easiest problem.
And you already plugged the help wanted bugs. Those are great.
Yes. I think this is a good starting point to actually learn our code base, like Kubernetes code base.
Cool. Let's see what else we have in our little queue. And we may run out of questions, and we may call this an interesting start. I don't know if you're interested in participating in this, but I'm looking to try to start basically a beginners to the Kubernetes group, or beginners to Kubernetes dev group, so that we can have something like this that happens more regularly than just once in a while.
Sure, of course. I'm happy to help.
And you wouldn't have to just talk to me in this new picture.
That's also always great. So I don't mind. Yeah.
So here's one. Is Kubelet's read-only port 10255 enabled by default?
Okay, I would have to find. Can you point me somehow to where is this question?
Sure. It was during June 24th in my time zone at 11:16 a.m. It's by mgoodness.
Okay, isn't the Kubelet read-only port? I think it should be, but we can check.
Yes.
There's a file. There used to be a file called Q, and we can maybe try to find it by the port number. It would be maybe more interesting. Okay.
That wasn't too many.
Yeah, exactly. Surprisingly. So let's see what we have in this file. 25.
To your point also about help wanted, to-dos is important.
Yes, that's a very good point. Kubelet read-only port exposes basically running services from the kubelet, maybe overridden. It's necessary for Hipster to collect monitoring stats from the kubelet, and Hipster can transition to using the SSL endpoint. Okay, let's see where this is used. Okay, again, not that many. Kubelet options, probably this is the one. Yes, so let's find this file and then read-only port, and then where do we have read-only port? The read-only port set to 0 to disable. So by default, this is enabled because by default we'll set, as in here, we set this part to whatever we had in this other file that we've just seen. And that means, judging from the comment, since this is non-zero, then it means that this port is enabled, and it's enabled by default. Hooray.
Cool.
Another one answered. That was not
one answered, exactly. Let me see what I have here. We've got questions about the CLAs, which I'm not gonna, although I did learn a bunch of that about that yesterday. I'm not gonna dig into those. Well, actually, maybe we can dig into those.
I'm not sure if I will be able to answer, but yeah, let's try.
No, I think those are more specific than I'm able to help with either. Let's see what we have here. You were mentioning Daniel. He's answering a bunch of these.
Yes, he's pretty active, I think.
Oh, and I've run out of Kubernetes dev questions. Okay, so let's go over to Kubernetes users, because I bet the users have questions too.
Sure. There's something happening right now.
Right now, live.
Debugging.
Do we want to invite them to join us?
Sure, we can.
If they want to. Fantastic.
Okay, I don't know what the right way to define an endpoint for a services.
Interested.
Doesn't work. Even when I run them as this. Okay.
Oh, wrong. There we go. Let's see if they want to come join us.
Okay, but I think that the user just realizes fledgling. There was some problem with Kubernetes credentials that were not set, but surprisingly, kubectl had a very strange error to inform about it.
Right, the syntax error, instead of actually giving an error, it parsed it incorrectly instead of saying you didn't give us your credentials.
Yes, exactly. That's my understanding of what is happening here.
Oh, hey, normally it's time to get up. My alarm's going off.
That's still pretty early, I would say. It's like 5:30.
Yeah,
Wow.
it is.
You are a morning person.
Let's see what else we have in here. If the process of the pod crashes, it will be logged to the pod status. Maybe this isn't a question. No, that's an answer. Can multiple PVCs use one PV?
There is one about, is there a flag to for kubectl get events to return all events instead of the last X? I keep running into this issue. Oh, Docker just hangs.
Ooh, okay.
Interesting. Okay.
That one looks meaty.
Okay, let's wonder if I have any cluster running right now so that we can actually see. Okay. That's not right. You can see how.
Lots of flags.
Yeah, I can see. That's interesting, but it looks like So this is not about events per se, but it's about get in general. So one thing to know is that events are garbage collected at some point, and so they do not stay forever. But I don't remember exactly like how long they stay. I think that's configurable. But I would expect that's enough to debug anything. So, but unfortunately, I don't have a running cluster right now, so that it would be hard to actually see something, and it would take too long to actually start running something right now. So I would expect that this is actually listing all the events that we have, but I don't know.
Are you game to throw up a cluster and take a peek?
Okay, this makes sense. So I would maybe stop sharing my window for a second. I will create a cluster and then be right back.
Okay, that works. And I will continue to look. Or you can show sharing. You can share the creating the cluster unless there's secret information.
I'm not sure. So there are some. Yeah, just a sec.
All right.
I'll create just a GKE cluster because it's fastest. But
yes. Ooh, I have another question for us. It's interesting that no one's taken us up on the office hours. I suppose people will want to see what it looks like and try it. And
maybe. Let's see if I could create a cluster in Europe. So maybe in the meantime we can jump to another question while the
sure.
Created. So what was the one that you found?
I flagged another one. I've installed Kubernetes on top of Docker on my OS X machine for development. Everything works great, but probably once a day, the API server is no longer reachable out of the blue. How can I diagnose what's wrong? I currently kill the API container, which is restarted, and after that it works again, but that seems like a lame solution.
So first of all, I would try to read the logs and the logs of the API server and see what is happening there. If anything is going on, there should be some periodic log messages that will show that it's up and running. And if it is, then I would expect that maybe there is something between around networking, maybe on the Docker side. That would be a guess, but I think that the first step is just to read the logs and see if this is still running, and from that point we can, understand more and see what's going on. It's hard to say something more concrete without the logs, so yeah.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So the answer is check the logs.
Basically.
Let's see what else we have here. I want to be notified when a process crashes and doesn't exit gracefully, aka downscaling organically. I love that phrase. Any chance to get it if a pod is in error on the cluster with some sort of metric tool?
So with each such event, Kubelet should generate, as I said, event that the user could watch for, and there should be information where it happened, like on which machine, what pod, what was the target, and what actually happened. So I guess this is one of the ways that the user could be notified.
Mm-hmm. And this would be the same event that we're spinning up a cluster to take a look at and then see how many historical events we can watch, or is that a different event?
Sorry, I didn't get it.
So you're spinning up a cluster to take a look at how many events we can see to say get pod events. Same space.
Yes.
Awesome. And they are garbage collected after some amount of time, and we're trying to see if you see all of them before garbage collection or if you see only a subset.
The cluster is created. I just need to push.
To go make some events.
I just need to push the credentials.
Okay. And I will take a peek for a next question after we figure out that event question. The many faces of troubleshooting. I have another question if you can think and type at the same time.
I have actually I can start sharing the screen.
Perfect.
I have it more or less running. So I created a cluster in Europe West 1B, and it's a brand new cluster. I have the credentials, something, the one. And so when I get events, indeed, there is a shorter list of events. I can also list events from all the namespaces. So this is much longer now. Less actually. Do this, and maybe we can do something like this. Okay. So majority of events happen in kube system as expected because there is nothing else basically in this cluster.
Great.
Let's see if we have something around failures. There's failed scheduling, created, pulled, failed replica. So to my knowledge, this should list all of the events which are available. But as I said, the events will be garbage collected at some point, so it's not never-ending storage. However, additional, like older events, will be stored by heaps, will be read by Heapster, and then they could be exported to some external database like InfoDB or Cloud Logging or something like this. So depending on the setup, those older events are also accessible in some way. So again, yeah, that depends. To see if we have actually an event where we can see if something bad happened to a container, maybe we can try to kill manually one of the containers, and see what happens then. So let's see what nodes do we have. Or maybe I can just SSH to the VMs directly and we'll see. Too many. SSH, let's see.
Die, little pod, die.
Okay, we have something. We have fluentd, kubeproxy, yeah, but these are not regular. Okay, let me go back here. Let's run something.
I love that that there seems the hello world in Kubernetes seems to be hello nginx.
Yes, exactly. But that's not a big surprise.
No. But the part of me that worked, well, the part of me, all of me that worked at Nginx before coming to Google is always loves this. I'm like, oh, look, Nginx.
Yes. Okay, let's see where it landed. So it's running here. Okay. Project. What was the project? Zone. What was the zone? Okay. We should have few engines. There it is.
Excellent.
So we can do maybe stop. Let's see. Created 3 seconds ago, so it seems it was restarted. Why Kubelet, I guess, because the creation time is much newer and the container ID is different, right? So let's see what happened with events. This should be also in the description of a pod. Oh, why don't I see this? Scheduled, created, started. Interesting. It seems that there is no event about it. Which maybe there should be, or I missed something in this little exercise that we had here.
Yeah, because there's the created with the original Docker ID of 42B, and then there's created with the Docker ID of D2D after you killed it.
Yes, that's a very good point.
But it doesn't, so it's scheduled, created, started, pull, and then create and start. Interesting.
Yes, scheduled, created, started, pulling,
Pulling, pulled, created, started. It doesn't say died.
Notice that there are multiple containers. Like first we have this ID, then this ID.
Right.
And there is no information about.
We found it missing.
That I too cleanly killed it. You would have to probably ask someone from Kubelet to actually understand what should I exactly do to force it. I would expect that there is an event saying that there was a problem with the container. There isn't, maybe if a feature request is appropriate for this. Looks like a reasonable feature request, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But you're right, it might be that you said Docker stop, so it didn't throw an error.
Something like this, that's possible, exactly. We can try again and maybe, you know, try to do something like, again, let's try to SSH there again and maybe like kill
9, kill.
Nginx. Oh, what is this?
No, so this is a question for me. So the Docker container doesn't die, but Nginx inside it dies. Does Kubernetes fix that if we just kill the Nginx processes?
Oh, absolutely. Like container is basically a process which is properly configured. So basically the idea of having a container is just having a process which is well, better isolated from the rest of the system, of the rest of the machine. So I guess this should work. We just need to know which process we want to kill, and
the master will do it.
Let's kill both. Of course. Okay, let's see what Docker has to say about it. Okay. Okay, and Nginx is restarted.
Restarted, excellent.
So let's see again now what happened with our pod.
Yeah, because that was pretty unceremonious.
Failed sync, error syncing pod, skipping, failed to start container, back of 10 seconds, restarting, failed container. Okay, so there is something about a failed container this time. So this time we succeeded in breaking things.
It's always more fun when you break it and you get an error message.
Yes, isn't it? Okay, so it looks like we have an error. Probably it's not too verbose in the sense that it's not obvious that there was actually a failure. But when you read it carefully, then it's kind of obvious. There is like restarting failed container, Nginx, pod, whatever. Yeah.
Sweet.
So this should solve. Okay.
We've got an answer, and we built a cluster, and I've got one more, which may be short or long, and we could decide if we want to answer it.
Go ahead.
Just getting started. My image pull secret was working previously. Double checked it's still there and contains valid credentials. Anyone have an idea about this error? So the error says error syncing pod, skipping failed to start container for Clary core with an error image pull.
I have to find it.
Okay.
Find it.
You mean not my reading it aloud isn't perfect?
It is. I just need to focus more, and it's easier for me if I see this.
Here, I can send you. I have learned. Oh no, I can't. Yes, I can. I can send it to you in Slack. I can send you the URL in Slack.
Ooh.
I'm learning how this actually can work. That one.
Where should I see?
It should have, there I am in the down lower from the direct message. Down further where the little red tag is from me.
Oh, yeah, yes, of course.
There you go.
Okay, let's see. This is what should open. It works, strange.
Magic? No, why is that not working?
I don't know.
It's taking you back to mine. Okay. Let's find another way to give you this information.
Let me go back to Kubernetes users and maybe, well, what was the username? I will just search for the username.
Yeah, let me find it. Because now I've moved out of this. Let me find my starred messages because I think I starred it. So it's CRIZCRAIG. Chris Craig.
Yeah, I have it.
That one.
This one?
Yep.
Just started getting. I was thinking about skipping fail to start with the image pool. Calculated and find the repository. Image pool secret was so to be honest, it looks like it's not a problem with the secret itself, but with the fact that there is no tag. I would guess. Easiest thing to verify this would be to log SSH in the machine and just run docker pull on whatever, on I guess this image. Maybe actually we can, no, so it's a private one if there's some secret. But anyway, like to verify this directly with Docker and then see if this works in Docker, then it's definitely some problem with either configuration of this secret or just a bug in Kubelet. But let's start with verifying that Docker is actually working. Like if you run directly this Docker pull and this image.
Cool. That's really helpful. And this has been fun. Thank you.
Yeah, it was great. Okay.
Next time, hopefully, we will get live users wanting to come ask us questions as well, and we'll see what we can do going forward.
I'm happy to help anytime.
It's been great fun. We'll figure out more.
We can do this later. I don't want to wake you up at 5 in the morning.
No, 5 in the morning's fine. Fine. All right. Well, thanks to everybody who made it all the way through this recording, and keep an eye out for when we do this all again.
See you.